Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Marble Gallery. Today is a special day. I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch. It's something that I really haven't had a chance to do yet, but I am going to talk about the system. I'm going to show off some of the hardware and stuff here I have in front of me, actually, where as I kind of shift things around. First thing I want to show really quick, which it's not really exciting or anything. This is a case I got for it. It's okay. It's not really very protective. Like, this is just literal cardboard in here, but at least it has slots for games. It has a nice like pouch slot that you can put stuff in. It came with a nice microfiber cloth, and like in a jam, it is something I have if I want to bring the system, with me somewhere. Again, it's not the most protective thing. There are much better options out there, but it is something that I have. So we're going to go ahead and set that off to the side. So anyways, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch itself. We'll show the unit first, which this is the system itself, which I'm going to try and get it so it's not on a glare. This is the system. This is the unit itself. This tablet is the actual system, which is really crazy when you think about it. It is primarily if you would have told me 6 months ago that I was going to be this excited about a new Nintendo system, I would have told you that you were crazy, because I haven't been a huge Nintendo supporter other than the handheld stuff like 3DS in like 10 years, because the Wii was a disappointment for me. I didn't jump in on the Wii U until Mario Kart 8, and even after that, like, there was a string of games that I enjoyed on the system, but it never really was like my favorite thing. It was never the huge great system for me that a lot of other people think is the greatest thing in the world. It is very much the Dreamcast of this era, though, and don't get me wrong, the Wii U has great games, but Nintendo really hasn't been on its game for a while, other than first party stuff. And I mean, when they're on first party, they're on first party. So the primary reason I wanted to get this was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and honestly, that is the reason to get this system. For me, I wanted to jump in on a new system. I like the idea of what the Switch is doing and everything, and that's why I decided to jump in on the ground floor with the machine. And I have to say, without showing anything else, without showing the other games that I have or any of the other hardware and stuff, this is easily the best Nintendo system I've gotten since the GameCube. I'm extremely happy with it. I love this thing to death. I really hope that other developers and stuff support it, and it's not just Nintendo. I think this thing's awesome. I've enjoyed it, and a lot of that, I would say like 85% of it is the best Zelda game in 20 years, but putting that aside, other stuff that I've played on it, like, it got me to play a racing game that isn't Mario Kart in Fast RMX, and I really like Fast RMX, and I'm not a racing person at all. I really, really, really like that game. So anyways, we'll start in with the system first, which I'm going to kind of shift some things on my desk around here. So as I was showing before, this is the system itself. When you buy the machine, I'm not going to do a unboxing video because you can watch those all over YouTube. When you buy the system, this is the system itself. It also comes with a dock, which I'm not going to pull off my TV right now to show you. But essentially, when you want to play this game on your TV, when you want to play the system on your TV, I should say, what you do is you take the system, you dock it in the dock, and then these things slide out like so. There's a little button on the back that you press here, and then it just kind of slides out. They have guardrails. And then what happens is, while that unit is in the thing, it comes with this thing, which is called the Joy-Con grip. So what you do here is you take this, you slide it on like so, if I can get it to line up on the clip. It'll make a little click noise. You do that with both controllers, and it's gonna freak out and try to sync that controller right now. This is your controller. This then becomes your controller when you're playing on the TV. Honestly, like, when I first saw it in motion and everything, I thought to myself, that looks really janky. I don't think it's going to be very good. It actually is much better than I thought it would be. I'm glad that Nintendo took kind of the Microsoft approach and gives you the diagonal analog sticks, and rather than being on the same horizontal flat like a Sony thing. I've always preferred that. At least for me, that's what I've kind of grown accustomed to in the last like 15 years, and it really works here. I like that these triggers on the back feel more like triggers than what was on the Wii U. The only thing I would complain about maybe is, like, I thought this cross D-pad thing would be really shitty. It's not. It actually seems okay. I don't know how it will work for fighting games. It's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but it does the job, and it does its job well. So, but this is your controller. If you're just buying the system and getting it like out of the box, you buy nothing else. Let's say you walk into the store, a store that actually has one right now, and you buy the system and you buy Zelda. This is your controller. This is what you will play. So essentially this is your controller. This is what you will use to play. It's going to keep trying to sync nothing right now. Another cool thing about the system is obviously portability is a thing that Nintendo like knows through and through, and when it comes to they've kind of capitalized the portable market for portable video gaming, and rightfully so. Like the 3DS is a phenomenal machine that had a rocky start, and you know, part of me is kind of sad that it seems like in the next year they're going to kill that machine off. But if they move all their developers onto this thing, then that's awesome. And that's something to really look forward to. But anyway, so another thing you can do, this thing comes with a kickstand, which you pop out like this. It's not the greatest kickstand, but it is what it is. And what you'll do, you won't be able to see it in this video. You will set it down on the table. And then what you can do too is basically you will take this controller, now turn sideways. There's a little thing, I think mine are still in the box because I haven't used them this way, but you can slide it on the guardrail on top to kind of make it feel a little more full. But then you can play essentially any game 2-player pretty much at any time, or so on. So like Mario Kart and that kind of stuff, you can take it on the go. You can play it like this. It's not the most ideal way to play a game. It's cool that it's there, and I see the appeal for like younger children and stuff. Why that would be a cool thing. Anyways, and that's another way you can play. The only downfall of that is like, well, this feels okay, and like it just looks like tiny as hell in my hand because I have big hands. The second player is always going to kind of get the shaft because the analog placement, being that it's a diagonal thing, is in the middle. So when you look at it this way, that's what it's going to look like at all times. So that person is always going to feel a little gimped. It isn't terrible. Like, it actually feels okay when you hold it. It's not as big of a deal as a lot of people have made it out to be, but it is definitely kind of a little disappointing. But honestly, I personally don't see myself playing this system that way very often, so it doesn't really bother me. Like, the most I'm going to play this system 2-player is on my TV, and that's just how that's going to be. So anyways, the other really, really cool thing I will throw in here, I got this at launch because I didn't know how this controller thing was going to work. I didn't know if I would like it or not, and I liked the design of what I saw of it, so I also picked up the Pro controller, which is this, and I will honestly say this is the best controller Nintendo has ever made, easily. It trumps even the GameCube controller, which is a gold standard for a lot of people. It is literally just an Xbox 360 controller. I like that the triggers are shaved down more. I really actually like that. Everything feels comfortable. There's only one gripe I have with this controller, and I'll try and show it in this shot here, but in this controller, the D-pad, as you can see here, you can press all the way down like this. And that's not good for like fighting game stuff. There's no ball bearing in there to stop that. It just presses all the way in. And that isn't good. That's something Nintendo could easily fix, but for the most part, that is my only complaint. This thing also does read amiibos. It actually reads amiibos when you tap it to the Switch icon, which is really cool. But this is a fantastic controller. I've played a ton of Zelda with this controller. Let's dive into games. Obviously, I've mentioned and I've shown it already. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the reason I bought the machine. In fact, I will show something else. So I have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Next game I got for the machine is Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. And one thing I want to show really quick is this is what the inside of a Switch case looks like. As you can see here, I'll pull this out for you guys. This is a Switch, and this one's a cool example of showing the thing because this game has a freaking manual. No other Switch game I've bought does. What's really cool about the manual for Binding of Isaac, as I'll show here, is that it has a really cool kind of throwback to the original Legend of Zelda manual. So that's really cool about it. But the other thing I want to show here is this is the cartridge thing. This is your cartridge. Also coated it with something so small children won't eat it, and it tastes really bad. I'm not going to do that. I think enough morons on the internet have done that already. So, But Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, it's cool that they finally made a physical version of this game. This is a complete it's $40. I feel like this is $40 well spent though. The thing that I got is Has Been Heroes, which was a GameStop exclusive game. Physically, you can buy it digitally, but the physical copy of it is GameStop exclusive. This is a really awesome game. It's a very cool roguelike game. I haven't played too much of it yet, so I can't give it like a proper review, but what I've played of it is really cool. And then digitally, right now I own Fast RMX and Blaster Master Zero. Fast RMX is a fantastic racing game, and again, like I said earlier on in this video, I don't like racing games really at all. I've never been a racing game guy. This game is like a cross between Mario Kart and F-Zero in a way. For me, it actually reminds me of a racing game that was true to me as a kid for the 64, which was called Extreme G. Which is a game nobody ever talks about. I believe they made 2 sequels, and I think the second one came out on like the PS2 or something. I don't think I ever played the third one, I should say. I don't think I ever played the third one. But there was Extreme G 1 and 2 were on the 64. It reminds me of that game, just like the speed and fluidity of it. And I'm sure if I went back to Extreme G today, it totally doesn't hold up. This feels more like kind of game. It is fast. It runs at a consistent 60 frames at all times, like even in handheld mode, even when playing like 2 people in handheld mode or playing 4-player split screen on the TV, it maintains its 60 frames, and that's crazy for what this machine is. I'll say about the tablet is the tablet itself is a 720p screen. If anybody cares, like again, like this thing is fantastic. Visually, like just taking on the go, like having the biggest Legend of Zelda game ever made as something that I can just take on the go is awesome. It's such a phenomenal experience, and for me, I'm not going to dive too much into Legend of Zelda because at some point I'd like to give that game a proper review. At this point, I've played about 75 hours of The Legend of Zelda. It will probably be my game of the year. It's an easy contender for game of this decade. They've done everything that I wanted them to do in a Legend of Zelda, and they've just moved that franchise forward like in the most imaginable way they could, and everything about it clicks, everything about it works. I really, really like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And this is coming off Horizon Zero Dawn and Resident Evil 7, and like in this unprecedented 2017 of games that every game pretty much has been good. With one exception, and I will get to that in a separate video. Everything I've played this year has been phenomenal, and it all has kind of culminated into The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild being the best game that I've played in a long time. Learn on this channel, I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. Not as like I like Skyrim. I enjoy Skyrim, especially on PC where you can mod it and everything. But Oblivion will always be my favorite Elder Scrolls game. It was kind of my first like real jump into it. I could never get into Morrowind. When that game came out on the Xbox, I tried, but I didn't see the appeal. And actually a reason I got it, the Xbox 360 was Oblivion, because I was reading about it in EGM of all places, and just really, really wanted that game. And so for me, Breath of the Wild is the best open world game I feel like I've played since Oblivion. It feels so much like Oblivion, and a lot of that has to do with the exploration and the combat and just the unknown, the mystery of finding things out for yourself and not just jumping into it like every other game. And a lot of the fun, if there's one thing I can stress about Zelda Breath of the Wild more than any other game I've ever played, do not look anything up. Just play the game. Don't buy a strategy guide. Don't go on IGN. Don't go on GameFAQs. Just play the game. Learn everything yourself. It is such a rewarding experience just figuring things out for yourself. And if you think that you can do it, you probably can do it. That's the biggest advice I can give for that game, is if you feel like it's something you can do, you know, too many times video games have kind of taught us like there are rules to things, and in The Legend of Zelda, it's like it breaks all of that. Prime example was I was stumped on a shrine in Zelda because I couldn't figure out how to get this rope to drop something, and then it dawned on me, like, why don't I just shoot an arrow at the rope and the rope will break? Because too many times in video games we think we have to play by developers' rules and what are the rules they've set. Well, if I shoot an arrow at this rope, is it going to actually break, or is it just going to hit it and nothing happens because it's just a texture? And I shot an arrow at the rope, and the rope broke, and it dropped the thing that I needed. It's stuff like that you will learn in Zelda, and it's just a phenomenal experience. Again, I don't want to dive too much into Zelda, but I have had such a blast with that game, and a lot of my Switch hype and how much I like this system is because of that Zelda experience, where it's the kind of thing where I've played 75 hours of Zelda now. I've probably played about half of it handheld and half of it on the TV. I started the game in handheld mode because I was still finishing Horizon Zero Dawn at the time, and I wanted to give that game its due, which I feel like I did. I platinumed that game, which is something I never do on the PlayStation because I usually don't care about trophies. So with the Switch, I started Zelda while still playing Horizon, and the first area is called the Great Plateau, and it's kind of like the training area. And honestly, like, I just wasn't feeling the game until I got off of the Great Plateau. And that's the other big advice I will give you is if you start Legend of Zelda and you're not really feeling it, just give it time. Just give it time. Get off the Great Plateau. Don't spend all your time there. There's a ton of cool shit there. Like, don't get me wrong, but you have to get off of it, and you have to start exploring the world. For Zelda, I had my Oblivion moment in Zelda when I got off of the Great Plateau training area, and then once I kind of jumped off and I had my, we'll call it a glider. When I had my glider thing, I jumped off of the Great Plateau, kind of landed in this field, and then found the first tower. So in Zelda has kind of like the Ubisoft, like you climb towers, you unlock parts of the map, which we'll get to in a minute. But anyways, I saw the first tower, so I was like, all right, cool. The first thing I should do is get up on this tower, climb up of it, and kind of get the first chunk of the map unlocked. It wasn't until I climbed that first tower, got to the top, unlocked the first chunk of the map, that I realized, holy shit, this game's huge. It isn't just like a small... it's not a linear, like, we're so used to linear experiences when it comes to Zelda. This is not a linear experience. You can literally do whatever you want. They give you the main objective of the game in the first 5 minutes, and you can do it if you want, which is literally just go to the castle and kill Ganon. That's your mission. That's your mission in every Zelda game, but it's given to you in the first 5 minutes. You don't have to go and fight any of the divine beasts, which are the dungeons. You don't have to go and get heart pieces or stamina, which we'll get to in a second. You can literally just run to the end, fight Ganon. I'm sure you'll get your ass kicked horribly, but you can do that if you want to. For me, though, like, I had my Oblivion moment, and I don't know if I haven't shared this story on the channel, which I'll share kind of a brief summary of it, because Zelda, for me, Zelda had the same exact thing for me. So when Elder Scrolls Oblivion came out, I was really excited about that game. I don't know much about it because I really didn't play Morrowind. Something for me that's always been fascinating in games, for me, I've always been the kind of person growing up as a kid and stuff where, in an open world sense, where I can look at an object in the distance and I can walk to it. That's always been my thing and my dream when I play a game of, like, all right, I see this mountain off in the distance, I'm gonna go walk to this mountain, kind of thing. One of the first games that did that for me, and it sounds silly and stupid as I say it now, but Smuggler's Run for the PS2, which was a launch title. That game really had a good sense of that. In the sense of you could just drive to different things. Again, I'm sure going back to that game today, it's probably terrible, but at that time, I was highly impressed with it. But no game did this for me, and like, truly, until I played Oblivion. So for me, Oblivion, I'll never forget. I went and picked it up day one. I bought a 360 at launch to play Oblivion, and it was originally slated as a launch title. They pushed it back 6 months, rightfully so, because I'm sure it needed polish and stuff. They got to March, whatever, I want to say it was like 26th, I got the game, go to my friend's house, we sit down, we play it. Obviously, the beginning of that game, you start in a jail cell, and then you kind of go through like a linear dungeon, and none of that was impressive to me. It was just like, all right, here's this linear dungeon, you know, whatever. This is going to be some long, lengthy RPG, and you go through the dungeon. The whole like dungeon sewer area is just kind of that game's tutorial. You fight some rats and stuff, but it's not really like a big deal. So it isn't until you get out of the sewer that the world opens up, and it's kind of just boom, here's your world, do whatever you want. You can obviously follow this path for the main quest line, or you can go and explore. And for me, my moment in that game, and this is easily one of my favorite gaming moments of all time, was when you come out of the sewers. You come out in a way where there's kind of like a river lake thing, and then across it there was like a little campfire, and there's like some dudes hanging out, whatever. And for me, my jaw dropped, my mouth hit the floor when I looked at it, and I said, all right, I'm going to swim across, and I'm going to go fight these people. And I swam across, and I fought those people. And just after that, looking around like, I can go anywhere. Like, I can do anything in this world. And then scrolling out, looking at the map, really like, oh my god, this is insane. Like, how big this map is, and how I could just go and do anything. And then, obviously, that game ruined a semester of college for me, because I kind of just played that game. And played that game. And played that game. And I think if I were to add up all my playtime between 360 and PC for Oblivion over the years, I've probably put anywhere between 700 and 800 hours easily into Oblivion. It is one of my favorite games of all time. But since then, no other open world game has really done this for me. Some have come close, like Skyrim. Skyrim is a better Oblivion in that sense, but I still don't like the world of Skyrim as much as I like the world of Oblivion. It does, like, Skyrim makes a lot of improvements and stuff, but Oblivion never did. A couple years ago, it's surprising when I say it's been 2 years now, but The Witcher 3 kind of came close to that, but The Witcher 3 is more about its story and its characters than it is about the open world that it presents. And I'm not saying The Witcher 3 is a bad game. The Witcher 3 is a fantastic game. Its open world didn't really do that for me. Zelda Breath of the Wild is the first open world game that has done that for me since Oblivion, where I had that same moment, and it wasn't immediate, and I'm looking back on it now, it wasn't immediate in Oblivion either, but for Zelda, it just immediate, like, once I got up that tower and looked and that part of the map unlocked and I realized what this game is, holy shit, this is the biggest game. And it's probably bigger than Oblivion now that I think about it, and Skyrim. Like, it is just massive. So the only other thing I really want to say about Zelda, because I don't want this to be a Zelda review, this is more of a Switch hardware review. The only other thing I'll say about Zelda, and something I think is so promising, and something I will touch more on in the future of like an actual review of Zelda, and I don't want to give Zelda its like hour-long due process until I have finished and seen everything that I feel I need to see in that game. And honestly, I've played 75 hours. I could easily sink twice that into this game on top of the 75 hours and probably still not see everything I want to see. I'm just going to spend time over the next several months playing that game, and off and on, and just exploring and doing my own thing and going at my own pace. Like, I think I have 70 of the 120 shrines now, and that's just me finding them off blind luck. I'm not really looking at a map that much. I do occasionally look at a map if I come into an area where the little thing goes off and it shows me, it tells me like, hey, there's a shrine in the area, and I can't find it, then I look at a map like at that point, because I'm just trying to find it. But other than that, I don't really look. I try not to look up stuff for that game because it's more satisfying. Zelda is very much a kid-friendly Dark Souls. It's not a kiddie Dark Souls where it is easy. It is a kid-friendly Dark Souls. Like, if Zelda wants to, it'll kick your ass, and it doesn't care. And that is extremely refreshing in 2017 for a Zelda game of all things. So the last thing I'll say about Zelda that I think plays to its strengths so well over any other open world game that I've played, including Oblivion, is I like the fact that when you climb towers and you unlock maps, you unlock that part of the map. And I've unlocked the entire map at this point, but you unlock the map, but it does not show you where anything is. It doesn't show you where, boss monsters are. It doesn't show you where shrines are. It doesn't show you. You do that yourself. You put those icons down yourself, you explore yourself, and there's a better sense of exploration and mystery involved in making a map yourself than just unlocking icons and going and exploring that shit yourself like you do in a Far Cry game or an Assassin's Creed game or something. And I'm not trying to rip on Ubisoft, but just saying this is a problem in most open world games. Like even Skyrim is kind of a victim to this at some point, but Skyrim does it a little bit better. But yeah, here this is another level, and it's a fantastic design choice, and this is more true to the original idea of the original like NES Legend of Zelda than any other Zelda game that's come out, because the rest of them have all kind of been linear experiences that have guided you through a story, whereas the story's there if you want it. And I mean, believe me, I do want the story, but the story of Zelda Breath of the Wild for me is how much I've explored, how many weird, crazy things I've seen in that world, and exploring all the different shrines and all that. That's what Zelda Breath of the Wild is to me. It isn't the story of fighting Ganon again. You've done that in every Zelda game, essentially. So in terms of ranking this Zelda game amongst all the others, I think it is, for me, it is neck and neck. I've always kind of gone with like Ocarina of Time has always been my favorite, then Link to the Past, then the original Legend of Zelda, and then everything else is kind of after that, except in Majora's Mask. As you'll learn, I hate that game. Sorry if you're a Majora's Mask fan, I just don't get it. I never did, but I'm not going to rant about that game right now. And for this game, it is neck and neck with Ocarina of Time as my favorite Zelda game of all time, which is nuts to say right now because it's 2017 and I just played this game, and it's the kind of thing where like I don't want to give this game a full review until I feel like I've seen everything. So I don't want to declare something like that until I've done everything in the game. So I plan on revisiting Zelda and giving it a proper video review in the future. I don't want to dwell on it too much right now because again, this is a Switch hardware video. This isn't a Zelda video, but because Zelda is kind of the biggest game that came out for this thing, that's what this is. So Legend of Zelda, awesome game. The final thing I want to say is kind of talk about the future of the system a little bit. So we have some good games coming out. The end of this month we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a souped up version of Mario Kart 8, but they fixed the battle system. They added all the DLC from they had added to Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and they've added new characters and new tracks. And honestly, if you haven't played Mario Kart 8, and a lot of you out there didn't own a Wii U and probably didn't play it, Mario Kart 8 is easily the best Mario Kart since the 64 Mario Kart, and its only one flaw was its battle system. Thankfully here, the battle system has been improved. Now I haven't played it yet. I'm beyond pumped to play it. Mario Kart 8 was my game of the year 2014. It is the reason I bought a Wii U. It is a fantastic damn game, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to play more Mario Kart 8. I'm really excited. I'm actually for this time, for the first time, I'll be able to start that game from the beginning with my girlfriend. So and she likes Mario Kart 8 a lot as well. So I'm really, really excited to play Mario Kart 8. The other game that's coming out in in April, end of this month here, that's also really exciting for me because I love Tetris, Puyo Puyo Tetris, which is a weird Japanese mashup game that should never have come out here. The fact that it got localized and is being put out in a physical form on the Switch and the PS4 is crazy. I'm getting it on the Switch because that's where I feel like I want to play the game. I'm really excited about that game. So those are two Switch releases that are looking pretty damn good. There's also some indie Switch games. I don't know if I'll get them or not. Mr. Shifty is one, which is like a Hotline Miami, but with instead of like killing dudes, you're kind of like a Nightcrawler from Marvel Comics. That game's looking pretty cool. I might dive into that. We'll see. It kind of depends on what the price is. But yeah, so the future of the system looks incredibly bright. We're also going to get in May. My prediction is probably end of May we'll get ARMS. I think there's a Nintendo Direct coming up this week that's going to put out some release dates, but I'm thinking either May or June we're going to get ARMS, and then I think July you're going to get Splatoon 2. And then obviously the big game that everybody wants is Super Mario Odyssey. Showed Super Mario Odyssey at that Nintendo event in January, but we haven't heard or seen anything else out of it other than it's just kind of promised as a fall 2017 game. My hope for Super Mario Odyssey is that Super Mario Odyssey does for Mario what Breath of the Wild has done for Zelda, which is they took it in a fantastic direction. They have a sense of direction for it, and they're doing something new and unique with that franchise, which they did with Zelda. I really hope that's the same for Super Mario Odyssey, because if we do that, then man, the Nintendo Switch has blown away the Wii and the Wii U in terms of games already. Putting all of that aside, I'm also excited for E3 to see what we get from Nintendo. What are they going to talk about? Are they going to show a new Metroid game that everybody wants? Are they going to show a new Super Smash Brothers? It's exciting to see what Nintendo does next. Or are we just going to get a port of Smash Brothers from the Wii? Like, I can totally see them doing that as well. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Switch. But I will say right now, I'm a month in on having this machine. I love it to death. It is my favorite Nintendo console I've owned since the GameCube. At some point, we'll revisit this, like maybe at the 6-month mark, and see if I still feel that way. But for right now, if you can go out and if you want a Switch and you can go out and you can get one and get your hands on one, it is totally worth it. Everything about the machine is awesome. The last thing I will mention here is that it's kind of up in the air what their online infrastructure is going to be like, because they want to kind of offload it onto this like phone app thing, and they want you to pay for that. But they haven't talked too much about it, and I feel like they'll probably revamp that. So we'll see what happens on the, at E3. I feel like E3 is the time for them to talk about that. And that's going to be a huge factor, because I will play a disgusting amount of Mario Kart, especially online against other people. And if all of a sudden that goes from being free to pay for that, that service has to be worth it. So we'll see if Nintendo can actually handle that, or if they just turn that into some huge mess. So we'll see. But for right now, Nintendo Switch, you're an awesome machine. I really hope that developers get behind you and it doesn't just become a Nintendo only platform. Like, I really hope that people make games for this machine and they turn out okay. So, but for right now, you're getting a thumbs up. Anyways, thanks for watching.